Hi, Cornerstone, it's Scott. Today's Cornerstone connection comes from the book of Jonah. As we begin this 4-day journey into Jonah, I want you to know this. Jonah is not the main character of the story. Do you know who the main character is? It's God. All throughout these pages, you are going to see God pursuing his rebellious prophet. It's not about a man running from God, but rather it's about a God who is seeking this sinner to bring him back into obedience, to do the very thing that God wants him to do, which is to preach to this evil and wicked city of Nineveh. Look with me at verse 1. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, "Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and call out against it, for their evil has come up before me." I want you to know the people of Nineveh are Assyrians. Assyrians were wicked. They were cruel. They would conquer their enemies and they would torture them in the worst of ways. They would skin people alive, bury them alive, rape women and children. They were awful. And so can you imagine being God's prophet, being in Jonah's shoes, having this word of the Lord come to you, saying, go to Nineveh? Those people, those evil and wicked people, and preach against it? Perhaps they'll turn from their sin? Jonah would have none of it. He ran the other way. In fact, he wanted to go to Tarshish. He found his ship going to Tarshish, which was 1,500 miles away. He wanted to go as far away from this place as possible. And we learn here that he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord. Look with me at verse 3. So he paid the fare and went down into the ship, to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. What an exercise in futility. You cannot run from the presence of the Lord. As far as you can go to the ends of the earth, and you cannot do it. You see, Jonah was a great guy. He was God's prophet. There were many areas in his life that he would submit to the Lord in, but this was not one of them. He would not listen to the Lord, and so he rebelled and he ran. And it says here in verse 4, the Lord hurled a great wind upon the sea, and there was a mighty tempest on the sea, so that the ship began to break up. And all aboard that ship were freaking out. These pagan sailors are crying out to their gods, and they're casting lots, seeing who's responsible for this, and they find out that it's Jonah. You see, your sin affects other people. Jonah's sin affected other people. Our sin is not done in a vacuum. If we decide to rebel against God in even one area of our life, other people, including us, are going to suffer for that decision. And so I want to ask, are there areas of your life that you're just saying no to God in? Areas where you're just unwilling to obey? Maybe it's a relationship that you're in, or the way you're using your money, or a bad habit that you're engaged in. There's something you need to give up over to the Lord, and you've been saying no to his will. Your sin affects other people. Well, God, being a God who pursues sinners, is pursuing Jonah here, and he sends this storm breaking up the ship. And this is a storm that's really designed to bring Jonah back to God. Are you walking through a storm right now? Are you walking through a hardship or a trial? I want you to know something, that if you're a Christian, this storm is not designed by God for wrath. No, the storm of God's wrath fell upon Jesus on the cross. Jesus died for your sin. He took the just judgment for your sin there on that cross. But rather, the storms of life are designed for our restoration, to bring us back to God. And so we need to listen to the storms and ask, God, what are you saying? What are you speaking to me in this storm? What good purposes do you have for me in the midst of this hardship? You see, God was seeking Jonah, seeking to bring him back, seeking to bring him to obedience, and he would do it at whatever cost. We cannot flee from the presence of the Lord. He will pursue us, and he wants to bring us back to himself. And so, church, my question for you today is this. What storms are going on in your life right now? And could any of these be places where God is seeking to get your attention? Let's pay attention to the Lord, and let's seek to obey him in every facet of our lives.